So what did I do today? Oh my word.
Oh, I know folks are still getting settled. Let's take a moment to just arrive here. I have a general kind of guideline for class today, but otherwise I want to encourage just finding what works best for you today and making it work, whatever that means for you and your body. As usual, class is an invitation. So see if you want to try any certain shapes or any certain things that we're doing in class together. But if that doesn't work for you, just set it aside and maybe try something else or maybe take some rest. Well, especially after our breath practice, make sure we take some rest. The farther I get, the more I'm learning how important it is to just, especially after breath work, which is work. It really takes some work to do. Just stopping at least to observe what you're feeling or what's happening in your body, or maybe also just taking time to just relax and rest your body as well. So, taking a few moments to arrive here. Maybe you want to take some breaths in and out. Maybe you want to just close your eyes and focus in on this moment, or maybe you want to look around, wherever space that you're in, using your senses to find yourself here. Setting aside anything we may have been up to prior to this moment, and then working to find ourselves right here and right now. The past has already happened. Future hasn't even happened yet. See if it feels okay to attend to this moment. Taking a few slow breaths here. And invite you to just notice your body for a second as well. So maybe take a break from looking around if that's where you are and just go inward if that feels okay. Maybe scan from the top of your head all the way down and just notice anything that you might be feeling. If you notice any tension or any sensation, maybe bring a hand to that part of your body, offering support, offering compassion for that part of you that might be experiencing any sensation. Maybe it's tied to an emotion, an experience. Feel free to offer compassion and support to that part of you in this space, in this moment. And then maybe placing your hands on your knees or your thighs. To start out, I want to recommend maybe some grounding energy. So allowing yourself to slow down, maybe placing your hands palm facing down in order to ground into this space. Maybe you even want to put them on the ground if that feels comfortable for you, or on the floor, which is kind of like on the ground. And just allow your energy to flow more in that direction, allowing the earth to support you, and using that to arrive in this moment. Breathing in and out nice and slow. And continue to do so while I talk a little bit about the class for today. As you know, the title is Make Room. And what I mean by that is the idea of giving yourself a little bit of space. When we do work with our emotions, we try to, the idea rather of having a little bit of room can be really important, because when we're in our emotions, when we're reactive, when we're responding to what's happening around us, it's very tight, it's very rigid, it's very closed in. So the idea of expanding our energy, expanding our consciousness, even expanding our mind, gives you more room, gives you some space from the stuff you're experiencing. It's almost like a little bit of out of body. So maybe you kind of step back and look at yourself in this moment and just notice what's happening. It gives you more space to act in a way that works better with what's right for you and like how you feel and what is in line with your morals and values and needs. So as we go through today's class, I'll be using kind of phrases like making room or giving space or things like that through the yoga shapes. And see if you can kind of think about this idea of unblending. So if you think about your emotions like a person or a character in a play, sometimes when we get really, really angry or activated or upset, we take on that character. We pretend we are that person. We become that person, like a really good actor would do. And that's generally thought of in the acting world as a good thing. But in the human world, where we're trying to navigate our lives effectively, it can be a little problematic because sometimes those emotions they take over and we're not able to move in a way that really works for us. So our emotions aren't bad. These parts aren't bad. They're not really good either. But in some moments, they're maybe not very helpful. So as we go through class today, working on making some space, working on unblending, giving ourselves some room, I want to encourage you to think about any particular situation that maybe isn't going great for you. Maybe your emotions really come to the front, take over, and you don't really have any, you don't feel like you have any choices in the matter. You become your emotion. You become angry. You become sad. You become whatever it is, and it's not helpful in that moment. So using our non-judgmental language, these things aren't good, they're not bad, but in these moments they may not be helping. So see what that means to you and take a few breaths while we move our way into our breath practice. So this breath practice is focused exclusively on the exhale. It's a very gentle breathing practice. But what we'll do is we're really focused on when we get to the end of our exhale, really pushing as much air out of our body as we can and pausing, suspending the bottom of the exhale, which can feel a little strange at first, but then letting the inhale happen on its own. Now, if you go to the inhale and it's kind of like you're gasping for air, you might have held too long. So try not to do that. But in this moment, see if you can feel what feels right for you. You're welcome to go along with me. But if my breath is too long, feel free to shorten it. Or if I'm not taking a long enough breath, feel free to elongate it. But again, try not to worry about the inhale at all, except for the very first inhale. And just let the exhale be the focus, really pushing out as much air as we can, thinking about the bottom of that breath really being a really broad expanse, like a big bowl. And then let the bowl fill up with air automatically whenever you're ready to breathe. So that's the breath practice idea, at least intellectually. Let's see how it feels. So feel free to take a breath in whenever you're ready. And then as you exhale, take that breath nice and slow. Breathing out through your nose or your mouth, whatever feels right for you. And then when you get to the bottom of your exhale, see if you can push out just a little bit more. Maybe even pulse your stomach. And then whenever you're done with that exhale, let the inhale happen on its own. Very good. So exhale whenever you're ready. Nice, slow exhale. Come all the way to the bottom of your breath. Maybe push out just a little bit more using your abdominals to push out the breath. And then inhale on its own. Again, just focusing on exhaling. I want to invite you to do at least 10 to 12 more of these. Pushing all the air out. And then inhaling and expanding your body whenever you're ready. Take a nice, slow exhale. Really expanding that exhale. Pausing on that suspension of exhale. And then when you need to breathe in, just let it happen. Exhaling fully. Perhaps closing your eyes if that's helpful for you. Focus on that experience. Holding, suspending your exhale. Allowing the inhale to happen on its own, naturally and slowly. maybe about five more of these, or how many ever is right for you. If you've reached a point where you're like, that's enough, thank you, feel free to skip it and move to a natural breath or whatever breathing practice feels right for you, or take some rest. Nice and slow, exhale. Maybe a couple more of those if you're still doing that breath practice. And then whenever you're finished with that, feel free to take a moment in some sort of restful shape. So maybe that's a child's pose, laying down on your back, or just remaining seated, whatever feels best for you. I want to encourage you for at least the same amount of time, maybe 10 more breaths, doing a natural breathing, a nice relaxed breath practice that you really don't have to control. Take some rest. And in this moment, see if it feels okay to just notice, how's my body doing? How am I feeling? What, if anything, was the impact of this practice? How does it feel to really focus on that exhale and suspend that exhale breath? Taking as long as you want in this space. I'm going to take about 3 or so more breaths here before continuing on. Whenever you're done with that, feel free to start to move your way up to a tabletop. If the tabletop feels comfortable for you, feel free to just maybe make some circles with your hands underneath your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips. And if at any point tabletop becomes too much, a lot of the stuff we're going to be doing here can be done from just a seated shape. Maybe coming back into like a thunderbolt shape on your heels or any seated shape to make that work. Finding the right adaptation for you and your body. Listening to how your body is feeling. And there'll be a little bit of time in kind of down dog shapes on our hands and knees and things like that today. So I want to encourage some wrist warming up. So you're welcome to stay like this, doing your circles or doing any other wrist warm up. You're also welcome to take your wrists and point your fingers toward each other or away from each other, whichever way you want to start, and then continuing your circles, warming up your wrists, This is also giving us an added benefit of helping our hips out a little bit too. If this isn't right in your body for your wrist, feel free to skip it or find some other way. If this is too much weight on your wrist, again, feel free to like sit up and maybe do some wrist circles. Otherwise, you're also welcome to turn your wrist one more time, pointing your fingers toward your knees and continuing gentle, very gentle, small circles. If you have any wrist issues, tendonitis, carpal tunnel, just proceed very mindfully, taking as much time as you want and need here. Or again, skipping it altogether. And then if you have your fingers pointed toward your knees, feel free to just very slowly come back toward your heels with your hands on the ground, letting your fingers peel up kind of one at a time, very slowly working your way up to a seated shape. And from here, I want to encourage everyone to just really shake out your wrists if you haven't already. Sit back on your heels rather. And then focusing a little bit on neck and shoulders, see if we can maybe move our head around just a little bit, taking a circle that feels right for us. Maybe nice and small if you want, or you can make it much bigger. It's totally up to you. See what feels best in your body here. Maybe go the other direction if you haven't already. And then whenever you're ready to release that, feel free to let your head just fall forward, releasing the back of your neck if that is possible for you. I'm going to encourage a movement where we work on our jaw and the front of our neck a little bit as well. So begin by bringing your head up to neutral. Open your mouth. Start to look up. And when you get about 45 degrees up, close your mouth and come back as far as you want with your head. I'll show that again. So feel free to release forward all the way down. So bringing your head up to neutral, open your mouth. About 45 degrees up, close your mouth. See if you feel anything with your jaw and the front of your neck. And then release that. Maybe just one more of those if that feels okay for you. So bringing your head up to neutral, opening your mouth. Close your mouth partway up and let your head come back. And then releasing that. Maybe it's your shoulder rolls here. Feel free to make these as big or as small as you want. Maybe you want to move your whole arms with this shape, moving your shoulders back. Or maybe moving forward as well if you would prefer. Maybe one at a time. You're a swimmer. And then the same thing going back as well. And then from here, you can go back into tabletop if you want, but also from seated, any seated shape, we can do a little bit of cat-cow. So if you're seated, feel free to put your hands on your thighs or your knees and start to curve your spine. This will be our cat shape. Maybe your head comes forward. And then coming forward, bringing your sternum, your chest opening, come forward as far as it feels right for you. It could be even into a back bend if you want, maybe your arms come behind you, or leave them on your knees if that's not right for you. You're in control of how far you move your spine here. But just a little bit of spine movement forward and back, allowing your shoulders and your neck to be in on the action as well. Releasing anything through this, moving nice and slow. Or if you want to move faster, that's totally up to you. Maybe breathe with it, inhaling forward and exhaling your spine back. Just a couple more rounds of that, or moving on to something else if this isn't serving your needs. listening to your body and how it's feeling in this moment. And then from here, we'll move back to that tabletop shape whenever you're ready and come back to child's pose. So bringing your feet together behind you and your knees, you can have them all completely together or you can have them farther apart as wide as you want. See what feels best for your body and whatever you're needing. For this child's pose, I want to encourage your arms being out in front of you. And we'll move into a little bit of a flow where we move forward through tabletop all the way forward to our belly. And when we do this, I want to encourage seeing if you can really grip your fingers into the mat. So the only thing, well, not the only thing, but the majority of what's pulling you up is your hands and your fingers. So not your wrists so much, but allowing your fingers to really press into the mat, almost making claws with your hands and pulling yourself up to tabletop and then moving all the way down very slowly, kind of like a reverse push-up, all the way down to your belly. Leaving your hands kind of underneath your shoulder blades or shoulders. And then whenever you're ready, feel free, again, clawing your fingers into that shape, pressing yourself up and back into the child once more. So your feet will come back together behind you. And you're resting again in child's pose, but a pretty active child's pose. Because again, keeping your fingers as active as you can and maybe pull yourself back up on an inhale. And then exhaling all the way down to your stomach once more. Whenever you're ready to inhale again, perhaps coming back to table, and then exhaling back to child once more. And we'll add on just a little bit as we come forward, coming through to tabletop, coming back to your stomach. And then if you want, you can do it just a little back bend into a low cobra. So maybe bringing your upper body up or just your head, and then setting it back down and pressing yourself up and back to child once more. Pulling yourself back up on your inhale, coming to your tabletop and again to your belly. And maybe you want to do a little cobra again, just a tiny little back bend. I'm going to give a few options as we move through this a few more times. So back to table and then into child once more, just flowing back and forth. So on this child, if you want, you're welcome to stop here and thread your arm through. If you want to do a little twist in your upper back, or skip it if that's not feeling good for you. And maybe you want to twist the other way as well. Like I said, I'm just going to be giving lots of options here. So whenever you're ready to come back up, using your hands to pull you all the way forward onto your belly. And then maybe here on your belly, bringing your arms into a cactus shape or just out in front of you. And maybe bring them up if you want to come into a little bit of like a locust shape or a Superman, some people call it. So there's lots of options here. None of them are right, none of them are wrong. Just see what feels good for you. Again, maybe threading the needle if that's what's calling out to you. Then maybe coming into a locust shape, bringing your arms back on your belly. Just maybe one more round. And coming forward, taking up some room here on your belly. And when the next time you're on your belly, consider just taking a rest. Maybe letting your arms fall to either side, maybe your feet fall apart behind you, fall away from each other. The more accurate way maybe to say that. And again, if you'd like, feel free to just focus on that exhale.
Not so much just to empty all your lungs out like we did before, but just really allowing yourself to breathe in and really sigh out. Something about laying on our belly that can just be very, very nice. You might be really more conscious of your breathing in if you feel your belly expand. And taking a few moments here just to notice how this is feeling. So again, you might be aware of a situation or situations where your emotions are really strong. And again, emotions aren't the problem. Emotions aren't bad. They're not the enemy. It may be hard to deal with. That's totally understandable. And they're not necessarily the problem here. But sometimes the emotions just take over. So if you're thinking about a situation where your emotions have maybe caused some trouble for you, congratulations, you're a human being. And just know that it is very difficult. A lot of people struggle with this idea. Having big emotions can be hard, and it can also be a bit of a superpower. It can be a really important part about being human. So as you think about a situation where you are struggling emotionally, perhaps, see if you can just observe it from the outside. See yourself going through the experience. Just notice what you see, trying not to judge it while you continue to rest. Maybe even send yourself wave upon wave of self compassion. Maybe say something kind and supportive like, it's okay, or yes, or I know. Just offering support to yourself in this moment. And spend as long here as you want, breathing in and out, offering that self compassion. Filling your belly up with air and releasing the breath whenever you're ready. And whenever you're done with that, we will move into downward facing dog. So feel free to meet me there whenever you're ready. Moving through a tabletop, flipping your feet over and coming up onto your hands. And for this first downward facing dog, you're welcome to keep your feet nice and wide if that's helpful for you to have lots of support. So see if you can just focus on bringing your hips up really, really high. Don't worry about whether your legs are straight or bent or whatever. Bend them as much as you want and pedal your legs. Maybe even move through your shoulders a little bit here. And our hands as claws will come in handy again. So see if you can really press through your fingers and find this downward facing dog to support your own body. Taking a couple more inhales and exhales here. And maybe settling into stillness if you haven't already. Feeling this downward facing dog. Don't worry about if your hips, or rather if your heels are all the way down on the ground. And then from here, feel free to bring one leg up in the air. I should say any of this stuff right now can also be done from tabletop if you want, or any shape that feels okay for you. So bringing one leg back or up in the air perhaps. Maybe bend your knee and rotate your knee around a few times. And then if you want, you can straighten your leg out again and bring it through your knee toward your middle. So coming through into a little bit of a crunch and then coming back up. And I'm going to do a few more of these. If crunches aren't for you, feel free to skip it altogether and just explore any downward facing dog shape for you. You can bring your knee all the way through to your elbow if you want. Back up And just one more of these on this side, maybe all the way across the other side of your body and back up. And then next we'll move to a low lunge. So bringing your foot all the way through, help it out if you want, and bring your back leg down to the ground. If this isn't right for you, perhaps just standing. If you want to feel a low lunge, that's fine. You could also do a warrior shape if that's better for you. Just making some adjustments. There we go. Okay. That way you don't have to bend forward. So yeah, just doing any kind of warrior leg shape. There you go. Perfect. That'll do something very similar. So from here in low lunge, we encourage just hanging out here for a moment. Feel free to bring your back leg and your foot all the way down to the ground. You're also welcome to bring your body up and bring your arms up and overhead, over warrior one. Looking up toward the sky, reaching, reaching, reaching. And then setting your arms back down and straightening your front leg for a little bit of hamstring. Feel free to point your toes or bend your toes, whatever feels better for you, exploring what feels right in your body. If you are in a low lunge, straightening out your front leg, just check your hips, see if we can try to keep them as parallel with the top of our mat as possible. And then coming back forward into your low lunge. You're welcome to put your hands inside your front leg if you like for a lizard shape, or you can also bring one arm up into the sky for a little bit of a twist if that feels okay in your body. Just a few options for you to see what feels good for you today. And then whenever you're done with that, feel free to come back to your knees. And we'll move into a gate pose, which might work for you. See how we do. Pardon me while I reset myself here. We're all friends. I'll face y'all here so you can see a little bit better. But a gate pose is done by starting on our knees. If your knees are particularly tender and you're on a hard surface, sometimes doubling up your mat, bringing it under so you have more than one layer of mat can be a good idea as well. Do what works best for you. So from here, I'm going to encourage moving into a gate. So I'm going to start with my right side and bringing my right foot all the way out to the side. My feet pointing away from me, like I were a dancer, which I am not. But if I were, this is what I might do, as I understand it. And then from here, this can be your gate. You can stop right here if you want. Otherwise, you can take your hand, start to slide it down your leg, and bring your other arm up and over for a bit of a side stretch. Now, only come over as far as is right for you. Try not to put all of your weight into your shin here. Your support can really come from your core, your torso. So try not to really dump down if that's at all possible for you. But allow your legs to support your upper body and use your core to really help you in this gate pose. And then coming back up through center whenever you're done with that. And then bringing your knee back together, and we'll go to the other side for the gate pose on the other side. So bringing your other foot straight out from your body, again, pointing your toes away from you. And then whenever you're ready, bringing your hand down your leg and your other arm up and over. See if you can keep this as open and broad as possible. Again, try not to put all of your weight onto your straight leg. Maybe look up underneath your arm if you want, or you can look straight ahead if that's better for your neck. And breathe nice and slow. You might feel this stretch kind of from your hand all the way down to your knee on the ground, maybe through your side body especially, and coming back up to center whenever you're ready. And then moving back to downward facing dog for a moment, very briefly. Setting your knees on the ground, and then I want to invite you into a traditional child pose if that feels okay for you. So bringing your knees together or closer to each other than before, coming down with your forehead. Now you can support your head with your hands or a block or something like that. I'll show you how that can look. But then I want to invite you to bring your arms along your side. So in doing so, with your arms down on either side, if that feels okay for you, you might just notice your shoulder blades start to spread apart a little bit here as well. If you don't need the block, you can certainly skip it. Bring your head down toward your mat. Coming into this shape here. And then coming back up to tabletop, to downward facing dog once more, when we get to the other side. And we'll just move through this just one time on this side. And if you did a tabletop before, feel free to explore that shape as well for this. So bringing the other leg, for me, I'm on my left side now, up into the air, bending through your knee, maybe moving your knee around a little bit to open up through your hips, if that feels right for you. And then maybe straightening your leg for a few crunches here. So bring your knee all the way through to the middle if you want. Again, feel free to skip it if the crunches aren't your thing. Bringing your knee all the way to one side. And back up in the air. And then bringing your knee all the way across your body to the other side. Crunching and releasing. And then just meeting up in a low lunge or whatever version of a lunge feels right for you today. On the opposite side from before. And again, we have our lunge options here. You're welcome to just simply rest in this low lunge. You also can bring your hands up to your knees and maybe even bring your arms up and overhead, opening up through this space, looking up toward the sky. Breathing nice and slow. You're also welcome. Bring your hands down toward the mat and straighten your front leg for a hamstring stretch. Maybe you want to point your toes. Maybe you want to flex your foot. So see if you can find the right level of straightening for your knee if possible. Just to give your hamstring a little bit of love, a little bit of flexibility. And then coming forward into your low lunge again, or whatever version you have there, maybe into the lizard version where your hands are inside your legs here. Feel free to hang out here for a moment. Perhaps you want to twist open, reach up with your inside hand all the way up to the sky. Taking it nice and slow, relaxing into this shape. And then we'll move into the gate once more, I'm going to start on my left side, pointing my feet away, coming up onto your knees. And we'll be here for just a few breaths, if you've already done this one. Maybe you want to point your toes, maybe you want to flex them, it's totally up to you. By bringing one arm up and over whenever you're ready. Supporting yourself with your torso, your core, maybe looking up toward the sky. Coming over as far as it's right for you. If you can notice any space that you're making along your side as you breathe in and out gently. And then releasing that whenever you're done with that, coming back to center on your knees. And reaching out with your other leg for one more gate here. Again, sliding your hand down your leg and bringing your other arm up and over. Maybe you're looking up under your arm, breathing nice and slow.
considering the space you might be able to make in your side body and coming back up to center whenever ready. And while we're on our knees here, I want to invite a camel shape, which for back bend can be a little much. So feel free to support your back. The good thing is your hands will be back here to support your low back anyway, for anyone, especially some people. So for camel, I invite you to bring your thumb up on your toes here, if you're not already. So really support yourself with your toes up like that. You don't have to, but I think it's good, especially if you're newer to camel. And you slide your hands back here as if you had a pocket. So kind of like you're putting them into the back of your back pocket here. And then start to just lean back. Now, this is camel right here. This is all you got to do. So just a back bend. I want to encourage you to bring your hips forward, if that feels okay. And allow your hips to be forward throughout this practice. And maybe just see how that feels to start. Maybe you let your head fall back. And then whenever you're done with that, come forward again. We'll do that a couple more times. Maybe sitting back on your toes just for a second, a little bit of a toe release. You can leave your toes kind of up like that and sit up on them if you want to work to release them. If that's not right for you, then certainly bring your feet down to the ground and sit on them more traditionally. And take 2 breaths here. And then whenever you're ready, we'll come back to another camel again. So again, you can do exactly what you did before or skip it if it's not feeling good in your body, but just see if it feels okay to lean back. If you really like back bends, maybe you even want to bring your hands to the top of your ankles, your heels, and maybe lean back. This may not be right for you at all, so feel free to skip it. It's kind of an intense shape. But wherever you are, continue to breathe. And then release that whenever you're done with that. And I'm going to do it just one more time. If you're finding that your body's saying, no, thank you, then please listen to that as to what feels good for you or what feels right for your body currently. So if you want to join me one more time, I'll also show you one more variation on the camel shape. So feel free to start leaning back if you want. Perhaps bring your hands down to your ankles or your heels if that feels okay. And you're also welcome to do a half camel and reach up, one arm up toward the sky, and maybe even start to lean back in this back bend. So whatever variation of camel or something else completely feels right for you, feel free to embrace that. If you're doing the half camel, feel free to do one arm at a time, reaching all the way back. And breathe. We sometimes forget to breathe in the shape, so please take some slow breaths in and out. And then release that whenever you're done with that. And we'll take one seated shape here, doing some what is called cow-facing legs. So I'm going to take my right leg and put my right foot underneath my left hip. It's easiest to explain one side versus the other. And then we'll take the left foot and we'll bring it over the right, kind of like you're crossing. Now you might have it to where your knees are kind of stacked on top of each other. So you might have that. If this isn't working for you, crossing your legs in an easy pose, they call it sometimes, is also just fine. But we're doing what's called cow-facing legs. You should know why they call it that, and I don't. But here we are, cow-facing. So feel free to just take a seat. Sitting up on a block is a good idea as well to help support your body. And then we can take our arms and do something similar. We're working on opening up through our hips and our back. So you can just simply bring your arms to your shoulders and see if you can feel your shoulder blades open up behind you. You're also welcome to do a release for your shoulders by bringing one arm up. Start with your right arm, bring it up and bring it down your back. And then reach around with the other hand and grab it. If this is really hard to do, I forgot my strap, so I'm going to use a stick. And you can instead allow some sort of object to be the go-between for you. I'm going to turn so everyone can see on the back here. Perhaps you can also bring your hand down your back. If you need to sit, great. If you don't, or a strap, or a belt, or a towel. And for this, see if it feels okay just to settle in. If you're doing the arm shape here the way that I am, I'm going to encourage sitting up nice and tall. See if it feels okay just to really open up through your shoulders and your back, sitting up nice and tall. Maybe close your eyes and breathe. And there's a lot going on in these shapes, so see if we can release any tension that might be present. So even if your legs come undone a little bit, that's okay. But see if we can just relax our body into this shape. And hold it for just a few more breaths, or release if you're way over it or done with it. And then release, shake out your arms, bring your legs out in front of you, maybe shake them out a little bit as well. Maybe move your neck a little bit. It's a lot more involved in the shape than you might realize initially. So take whatever time you need here to rest in this shape, and then we'll do the other side before taking on some restorative shapes. So for this last piece here, just to set it up, so we did the right first this last time, so this time we'll move our left foot underneath our right hip. Your left knee is going to be kind of pointing perpendicularly away from you. And then bringing your right leg up and over. Again, it'll be kind of like your knees are pointed in the same direction, one knee on top of the other one, with your feet on either side. People that are super bendy can sometimes have their feet all the way up against their hips, and good for them. We don't all get to do that, and that's okay. So wherever you are, see if it feels okay to take the other arm. For me, it's my left arm. Bring it up and over, and bend at your elbow, down the middle of your back. And sit up nice and tall, and perhaps you reach around and grab it with the other hand or use a strap. You can do another option of simply just placing your right hand just on your elbow, just helping it out a little bit. Whatever way feels best. For me, my two sides feel very different from one another. But wherever you are, whatever kind of shape you're in, I would encourage you to sit up nice and tall. The focus of this is opening up, making some room. So if what I'm suggesting isn't doing it for you, feel free to find your own option that feels better in your body, and take about 3 or so more breaths. Releasing any tension that doesn't need to be present. So maybe consider your jaw, your temple, your eyes, your tongue, or maybe your feet, maybe it's your hips, maybe it's your stomach. See if we can release anything that doesn't need to be active right now. And breathe. And then release whenever you're done with that. So releasing your hands, shaking your arms out a little bit here, moving your feet in any way that feels good for you. And then we'll move to our backs whenever you're ready. Sip of water. So take your time getting onto your back. And from here, I want to invite you into what is called Konasana, which is the butterfly legs on your back, or reclining butterfly leg shape. So for this, we want to take our feet, bringing them together, the palms, the soles of your feet rather, bringing them together and letting your knees fall open. Now, if that doesn't feel good for you and your body, feel free to take some blocks and put them underneath your knees. Elizabeth, you want some blocks, please? Elizabeth, would you like some blocks for that? Yeah. So feel free to put them underneath either of your knees. But if you don't have blocks, feel free to use maybe some hefty pillows or some books or something like that. Anything like that will also do. And just maybe be mindful of how far your feet are from your hips. Sometimes when we say butterfly legs, people put their feet rather, just right up next to their hips. And that's fine if that feels okay for you. But maybe consider bringing your feet a little bit farther out
and giving yourself some room. This is meant to be restorative and restful, not hard work. Maybe you also want to bring your arms up and over your head and making about the same shape with your arms as you are with your legs. So bringing your hands together, your elbows bent, spread wide. If that doesn't feel good for your shoulders, feel free to take your arms alongside your body, or maybe just place a hand on your heart and a hand on your belly. Whatever is calling out to you, whatever feels best for you in your body right now. And this is a moment here, if it feels right for you, to just take in everything that you're feeling. Allow things to be. If you're noticing any sensation, see if we can just be curious about it. Do I need to take some action? Do I need to do something differently in this shape in order to feel more comfortable? Or is it okay to feel what I'm feeling? There's no right answer except the one that's right for you. And maybe close your eyes and breathe. I invite you to take at least 10 or so more breaths here, or skip it if that's not feeling good for you and move into some other restful shape that does feel right for you. And whenever we find rest, it's very common for your mind to go to other things. Or maybe your mind is distracting because it's trying to take you out of this moment. It's also very standard, pretty normal. So feel free to just notice when your mind wanders. Maybe you just say, oh, I'm thinking, or distraction. And then just start again with focusing as much of your awareness on this present moment as you're able. Recognizing that distractions are normal. Taking a couple more breaths, nice and slow. And then very gently and mindfully consider bringing your knees back together. Maybe you want to help your legs up with your hands, bringing your knees toward each other. And then maybe sit with your feet flat on your mat here just for a moment. You can even kind of sway your hips back and forth if you want. You can move your knees side to side if a little twist feels okay for you, but skip it if it's not right for your knees. Rolling a little bit side to side. And then we'll move into a figure four whenever you're done with that. So taking one foot and placing it on top of your other knee, your other bent knee. And this can be your figure four. Feel free to relax your leg, relax your foot, your shoulders. If you'd like, you can also bring your knees closer to you. So interlacing your fingers underneath your thigh and bringing your knee and your leg closer to you. That may not be right for you. That might not be right in your back and your hips. So feel free to just leave your foot on the ground and stay in that figure four. And again, here, while there's still a lot going on, see if you can relax anything that doesn't need to be active. Releasing, relaxing, and resting. Again, just noticing any distractions. Maybe start to just, when it does happen, to just be like, aha, yep, there it goes. Another thought. Embracing it as very normal. And releasing any tension while you breathe. Couple more breaths. And then setting your foot back on the ground, both feet on the ground whenever you're ready. Maybe swaying your knees side to side, kind of windshield washer style. Windshield wiper, washer, wiper. Anyway, whatever feels best for you. And then setting up figure four on the other side. So placing one foot on your other knee, relaxing your foot, relaxing your leg. Maybe you want to push your bent knee away from you just a little bit, or just staying in the shape, or bringing your foot, your leg closer to you. If you're familiar with a half pigeon or a sleeping pigeon, it's a little bit like that, but without all the body weight included in the shape. And allows you to be in control of how far you would open up through your hip or bring your legs toward you. You might feel a stretch along the back side of your glute, maybe even a little bit of work for your hamstring, your legs, your knees. But again, with all of that going on, see if you can relax even into this shape. It might feel like a lot, but see if you can relax and rest. Taking a few more breaths here. And then releasing your foot back down to the ground, bringing both feet to the mat. Again, swaying your knees side to side if you want, or you can also bring your knees toward your chest, holding them in full wind pose, holding both of your knees. And maybe you rock side to side a little bit here as well. And if having your knees up like this, hold it against you, isn't right for you, feel free to also just kind of move your entire body side to side if you want to get a little bit of a lower back massage, or if that's not your thing today, feel free to just rest. And then from here, you can really take any shape you want. I'm going to do a twist, but if twisting isn't helpful for you, feel free to just rest your body. Maybe you take a happy baby or any other shape that feels right for you. And then for me, for my twist, I want to encourage you to hold onto one leg and let your other leg go long on the mat. And then begin to bring your bent knee across your body. I'm bringing my right knee across to the left and twist in the spinal shape here. It's a fairly deep twist, so feel free to skip it or only do a smaller version of it if this isn't right for you. Maybe close your eyes and rest in the shape or whatever shape you're in. Resting your body, letting the tissues very slowly melt, hopefully start to release. Taking at least 5 or so more breaths here before going to the other side. Breathing deep through your torso. Taking a nice long exhale. And whenever you're done with that twist, feel free to bring your knees back to center Maybe bringing both of your knees into your hands if you want. Maybe pedaling your legs just a little bit. We'll twist on the other side or something else if this isn't right for you. Bringing your opposite knee across your body the other way and twisting into this direction. Maybe your head goes the opposite direction from your feet. Slowly resting your body, relaxing into this shape. Taking at least 5 or so more breaths here, or whatever feels best for you. And then taking whatever other shapes might feel good for you in your body right now, or moving your way toward Shavasana or any restful shape that is calling to you now. Your child's pose, it can be laying flat on your back. And as we take our final moments in rest here in class today, I invite you to bring to mind this idea of making some space. So again, coming back to any situation where emotions might run high for you, or a situation where you might be easily triggered into your emotional state, emotion mind, whatever that means to you. Take some time to, again, see yourself in that situation from afar. See if you can see yourself in that situation and just notice what's happening for me here. And how might I offer myself some compassion, some kindness, maybe even some love. Saying something very kind, supportive, maybe even just placing a hand on your own shoulder and just saying, I know, it's okay, or yes. It's times like these that we tend to be the opposite of compassionate and helpful for ourselves. So see if we can offer just as much love and compassion in this moment to ourselves, for our needs. And take a few moments to sit with that if that feels okay for you. I'm going to be quiet here for a couple of minutes and we'll just invite you to absorb, embrace whatever felt right for you, whatever came up for you. See if we can just let it be. While you breathe slowly and rest your body in this shape.
Now you're welcome to stay in a restful shape for as long as you want. If you're ready to come out, feel free to start moving your body in very small ways. Maybe by flexing the fingers and toes. Maybe move your head side to side. Very gently awakening your body, keeping your breath with the bed. Any way that your body is calling out to move right now. I encourage you to maybe roll to one side or whatever way helps you to move back up to a seated or alert state, or stay laying down for as long as you want, like I said. I hope you'll think about the practice that we've done here on our mats and consider how you can take that out into your day-to-day practice, day-to-day life, day-to-day experiences. I know that emotions can really get the better of us sometimes, and they can be seen as the enemy, and I get it. I feel that way too sometimes. And like I said before, they really are our superpower. So please take good care of yourself today. Drink lots of water. Send yourself lots of self-compassion. I know that I'm very grateful for your presence today. Thank you for being here, everyone. Namaste. Be well.